That you are well, and also hope that you are having a good day so far. So, for today, we will be doing our grade 3 English lesson, and we'll be doing a grade 3 English lesson on subject and predicate. So, we'll be doing our grade 3 lesson on subject and predicate. And before we start, we are going to log into aplusstudents.ca. You're going to log in with your username as well as your password. Once you've logged in with your username as well as your password, and then you're going to select the subject of language arts. And then language arts grade 3. Then you're going to scroll down up until you get to the chapter of subject and predicate. So that is going to be our chapter for today. It's going to be subject and predicate. So once you've selected the subject of predicate, the chapter of subject and predicate, the lessons that we will be focusing on under the chapter subjects and predicate is to identify the complete subject of a sentence, to identify the complete predicate of a sentence, and to identify the simple subject or predicate of the sentence. So that is going to be our focus lessons for today. All right, so our lesson, you can find the lesson on aplusstudents.ca. So you can then just log into aplusstudents.ca, and that is where you will find the lessons that we will be focusing on today. So it will be under aplusstudents.ca, and the chapters as well as the lessons is on the board. All right, so we're going to start with our lesson today on subject and predicate, right? So before we start with our specific lesson, a subject, right? So firstly, when in a sentence, right, or a complete sentence, let's put it like that, a complete sentence or complete thought, it has a subject and it has a predicate. So every sentence has a complete subject and a complete predicate, and that is listed in every sentence, right? The complete subject, so the subject of a sentence or subject within a sentence, right? It tells us who or what is doing something. So our complete subject, it tells us who or what is doing something. So sometimes the subject can either be a person, can be an animal, can be a thing, right? But it is where you identify who or what is doing something within the sentence. So when it comes to our subject, right? Our subject can either be one word or it can be more than one word. And the subject is basically the main verb, the main noun, right? Or it can be a pronoun that the sentence is about. And then we have a predicate, right? And a complete predicate, it tells what the subject is doing. And it is the verb plus any other words that tells you more about it. So when it comes to the predicate can be one word or it can be more than one word. So when it comes to a subject and a predicate, right, within a sentence, if you basically have a sentence with both subject and predicate in it, then it means that you actually have a complete sentence, or we would call it a complete thought. And every sentence has a complete subject and it has a complete predicate. And once again, the subject, it tells who or what is doing something. And when it comes to the subject, it can be one word or more than one word. And in the complete predicate, it tells us what the subject is doing. So if your subject is a person, then your predicate will tell us what the person is doing. If your subject is an animal, then the predicate will basically tell us what that animal is doing. So then basically it is when it comes to the predicate, then it is the actual verb plus it can be any other words to tell us more about the subject. So basically the predicate, it gives us more information about the subject, but it gives us more information in the sense of it shows the action that the subject does. Oh gosh. All right. Don't know what happened there. Let me see something. Okay, there we go. So let's go to a few examples, right? So if I think of a few examples, or if you can even think of a few examples when it comes to subject and a predicate, right? So subject is usually who, right? Can either be a person. Most times it is a person that they are talking about. That is most times, right? But it is basically a noun. And remember, a noun, it names a person, a place, a thing, or an animal, right? So that is a noun. So which means that the subject is the main noun or the subject is a pronoun, right? Within the sentence. And if we look at an example, so if we look at an example of a subject and a predicate, right? And then we can say, the cat is sleeping soundly. Let's say soundly or peacefully, right? So if this is our sentence, right? And if we identify the subject within the sentence, and then we can identify the subject as the cat. So I'll put there subject. So the cat is the subject. We are discussing the cat, right? And then if we were to identify the predicate within, or let's say the verb basically within the sentence, and then we can say it is, the cat is sleeping soundly. So sleeping being a verb, but this whole, what I underlined with yellow, right, is our predicate. Because remember, we said that the predicate is either just the verb. So this is the verb. So it's either just the verb or it's basically every other word after that also tells us about the cat. So that is why we're saying that a predicate, it gives information about the subject. So here we have the subject, which is the cat, and then the information that is given about the cat is the fact that the cat is sleeping soundly. So you are basically telling us what the cat is doing. He is sleeping, or it is sleeping soundly. All right, so we see that our lessons we are doing on a+students.ca. So you can log into a+students.ca with your username as well as your password. All right, so now we are going to a+students.ca, subject, chapter, subject, and predicate. Let's go to the first lesson. The first lesson is to identify the complete subject of a sentence. And remember, we said that a subject, it tells us who or what is doing something. So every sentence, right, it has a complete subject and a complete predicate. So if you have a sentence that has both subject and predicate in, then that is a complete sentence or a complete thought, right? So every sentence has a complete subject and it has a complete predicate. And a complete subject, right? Because that is our focus first. The subject. A complete subject, it tells who or what is doing something. And like we said, it can be one word or more than one word. And when we say one word, then it's like if we say John runs after the ball, right? So if we say John runs after the ball, so when we say it can be one word or more than one word, John is one word. And if you say more than one word, then it's like, say, for example, the subject is maybe the cat or the cat and mouse, right? Because both is subjects, right? So then it's either the cat, which is the subject, or the cat and mouse is the subject. And it tells us who or what is doing something. And remember, we said that a subject is basically the main noun or it is a pronoun. Okay, so if we also look at the example on the tutorial, right? The example here on the tutorial, it says, she sleeps a lot. And if we identify the subject within the sentence, right, then the subject that tells us who or what is doing something is she. So she is our subject. It tells us who or what is doing something. So she is doing something, right? And the predicate means, or it is, sleeps a lot. So she is the subject and sleeps a lot is the predicate. Or when we say it has one word or more than one word, right? So the one word is she. More than one word is, for example, if we have a sentence that says, her friend sleeps a lot. So there we have the subject also as her friend. Or another sentence is, her best friend sleeps a lot. So her best friend is the subject. And the subject, it can be one word or it can be more than one word. And if we look at these three examples, right, she sleeps a lot. Her friend sleeps a lot. Her best friend sleeps a lot. Each one of these sentences, right, it completes the subject. Or each complete subject, it tells us who sleeps a lot. So it tells us who sleeps a lot, which means that it's either she or her friend or her best friend that sleeps a lot. So we're now going to select the two words that make up the complete subject. So we're going to select the two words that make up a complete subject. My mom squeezes my hand. We need to select the subject within that sentence. My mom squeezes my hand. So if we select the subject within that sentence, right, remember that you need to constantly, if we are talking about a subject, then you need to constantly ask yourself who is doing something or what is doing something. So in this case, my mom is doing something. So my mom being the subject, because my mom is doing something. And the question is, what is my mom doing? Squeezes my hand. But the subject that we want to focus on specifically is my mom, because it is who or what is doing something. She's squeezing my hand. We're going to select one word that make up a complete sentence. Fred fastened his seatbelt. Fred fastened his seatbelt. So we need to select one word that makes up the complete sentence. And if we choose or identify a word, then it is Fred. And the question is, what or who or what is Fred doing? Or what is Fred doing? He fastened his seatbelt. So Fred is the subject. We're talking about Fred. And what is Fred doing? He fastened his seatbelt. But Fred is our subject. All right. We need to select three words, right? So three that makes up the complete sentence. The brown horse escaped. Three words. The brown horse escaped. Remember, we say that a subject either has one word or it has more than one word. And if we select this three worded subject within this sentence, and then we will say it is the brown horse. So the brown horse is our subject. So if we were to ask, what does the subject do? Then we can just say escaped. So the brown horse escaped. All right, so that is basically a subject, right? And we see that a subject, it tells us who or what is doing something. So it can either be one word or it can be more than one word. So now we're going to log into our test. And let's click on begin test. I'd say select the one word that makes up the complete subject. Mice squeaked softly. So mice squeaked softly. So we need to select the subject. Is it mice or is it softly? So if we choose the subject within the sentence, right, that tells us who or what is doing something, and then we will choose the mouse or mice. More than one mouse, mice. So the mice is our subject. Yes, so well done. The brown horse escaped. We need to select three words that make up the comeback. The brown horse escaped. So is it the brown horse or brown horse escaped? Oopsie. It's three words. All right, so if we select the correct words and then we can choose option one. And option one being the brown horse. So if you have the brown horse, then well done. Well done. Because the brown horse is correct. Scott's dad chopped the wood. Scott's dad chopped the wood. We need to select two words that make up a complete sentence. Two words. Is it Scott's dad or the wood? All right, so if we select the two words that make up a complete sentence, then we're going to choose option one. And if you chose option one, then well done. Well done. Our neighbor fed the dog. We are selecting two words. Our neighbor fed the dog. So is our subject our neighbor or is it the dog? We need to find or let's select the correct one. Either our neighbor or the dog. All right, so now we're going to select the subject, right? And we are choosing our neighbor. And our neighbor is correct. So if you wrote our neighbor, then well done. Well done. All right, so now we're going to identify the complete predicate of a sentence. And a predicate, it tells us what the subject is doing. It's like the verb. It tells us what the subject is doing. So it is the verb plus any other words to tell me more about it. So it is a verb plus any other words that basically tell us more about it or tell us more about the subject. So it can either be one word or it can be more than one word. And we made a few examples of subjects, right? So if you had, for example, um, I wouldn't say the word paid attention much, but then you would have seen that um, the tutorial lessons is basically the same as when we went over what a subject is. So in this case, the subject is her friend. And our predicate, which is our verb, right? So it's either there's just a verb, just a doing thing, or you are underlining the predicate, which is the subject plus any other information that tells us about the subject. For example, her friend sleeps. So what is the friend doing? Sleeps. Her friend sleeps a lot. So that is where the more than one words also come out. Sleeps a lot is our, it is basically, yep, sleeps a lot. And then we have her friend sleeps a lot on a weekend. So there we have a complete predicate which tells us what the subject is doing, and it is the verb plus any other words that tells us more about it. And it can be one word or it can be more than one word. And as you saw that it is, it's almost like another word is added. So complete predicate tells us about the subject, which is the verb, but a predicate, it is the verb plus any other words that tells us more about it, or any other words that gives us more information about the noun. We need to select 3 words that make up the complete predicate. 3 words. Dad baked great bread. So dad bakes great biscuits. So if they want 3 words, right? Which means that our subject will be on the one side. And then our predicate is bakes great bread, sorry. Bakes great bread. All right. We need to select 3 words that make up a complete predicate. Babies nap every day. Babies nap every day. We need to select the 3 words that complete the predicate. Predicate, it tells us what the subject is doing. It's a verb plus any other words that tell us more about it. And if we select the 3 words, then we will say nap every day. That is our subject and our predicate. All right. So we need to select 3 words, right, that make up the complete sentence. 3 words. The girls respect their teachers. The girls respect their teacher. So we need to select the three words now that makes up a complete predicate. And that three words are respect their teacher. All right, let's go to our test. So if you chose the first one, then yep. All right, so we're going to select the three words that make up a complete predicate, right? And it tells us who or what is doing something, or let's say the action that the person or animal does. Honeybees sting people sometimes. So honeybees sting people sometimes. We need to select three words that make up a complete predicate. Honeybees sting people sometime. And if we choose the correct predicate, then yes, that is correct. Sting people sometime is our. So sting people sometimes. So honeybees, right? That is our subject. But for now, we're not focusing on the subject. We are only focusing on the predicate. And it is still sting people sometimes. So if you said sting people sometimes, then well done. Well done. That dinner serves French fries. We need to select three words. So that dinner serves French fries. So that dinner is our subject. Now we need to select the predicate. And the predicate then is serves French fries. And that is our predicate. So basically, serves is the verb. But they said, and every other word that gives us information about the subject. So, serves French fries is our predicate. We need to select three words that make up a complete predicate. Is it serves French fries? Oops. Or dinner serves? And in this case, we already chose the first one, which is serves French fries, because the diner is our subject. So the diner is serving French fries. So all those that chose one, well done. So one is correct. The farmer gathered the ducks. The farmer gathered the ducks. Three words. So if we choose the predicate, and then we will choose gathered the ducks. All right, so if you have gathered the ducks, then well done, because that is correct. And that woman taught math. That woman taught math. So, taught math or woman? What word is the complete predicate? And if we look at the complete predicate, it will be that woman. And now, the noun, sorry, the subject is that woman, but the predicate is taught maths. So basically, that woman taught math. All right. So we have identified the complete subject as well as the complete predicate. And now, with a complete subject and a complete predicate, right? Remember, we said that the subject is basically who or what is doing something. So if we look at a few more sentences, right, with subjects as well as a predicate in, then we can maybe say, we can say the girls like boys. No, not say, let's say ice cream. Like ice cream. If we look at this word, right, the girl likes ice cream. If we look at this sentence, right, which is the girls likes ice cream. Can we identify the the subject within the sentence? The girls likes ice cream. The subject. If we identify the subject within the sentence, and then we're going to say that the subject is the girls. So our subject within the sentence, right, is the girls. And then we have our predicate within the sentence, and our predicate is likes ice cream. So the girls being the subject, and our predicate, which is likes ice cream. All right, so we're going to think of another example. We're going to choose another sentence. We can say Toby and I took a walk. So Toby and I took a walk. So if you see a sentence, right, like this, if this is a sentence, Toby, oh, it's capital letters. If we look at the sentence, if or can you identify the subject within the sentence? And if we select the subject within that sentence, we will say Toby and I. So Toby and I, I'm going to put S for subject. That's our subject. And what about Toby and I? What did Toby and I do? They took a walk. So took a walk is the predicate. All right, so I have an activity on the board, right, on subject and predicate, and we are going to identify the predicate as well as the subject within the sentence. The first one says, Kent fell off the surfboard. So if we look at that sentence, right, which is Kate fell off the surfboard, which is Kate. So board, that's not board. So Kate went off the surfboard or on the surfboard. So if we look at that sentence, right, Kate is our subject. And then our predicate is fell off the surfing board. So there we have a subject and we have a predicate within that sentence. All right, grade threes, that is basically the end of our lesson on subject and predicate. All right, so sorry for the silence. So we see the subject, it tells us who or what is doing something. And then we have a predicate, which tells us it is a verb plus all the other words. It tells us what the subject is doing. All right, so grade threes, this is now the end of our lesson, or end of our grade three lesson on subject and predicate. Subject and predicate, right? So till next time, thank you very much for interacting. Thank you very much for sending or also answering questions. Till next time, you should have a good day further. Goodbye.